Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. Joan served the state of California as a member on the Arts Council and on the Film Commission. She was formerly on the Architectural Commission and fulfilled 2 terms on the Fine Arts Commission for the city of Beverly Hills. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview magazine, Condé Nast Publications, and the Hearst Corporation, Joan covered the world of fashion, the mysteries of food, the excitement of theater, and the international art scene. She continues to find people who are on the cutting edge of their professions. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're taping here at the Hollywood Museum in the historic Max Factor building on Highland at Hollywood Boulevard. And our guests are musician Elizabeth Pitcairn and actor-singer Richard Shelton. Violin virtuoso Elizabeth Pitcairn grew up in Bucks County, studied at Temple University, and when she was at Temple University, it was the Center for Gifted Young Musicians. And then she attended USC. She made her debut in New York at Alice Tully Hall, and it's in Lincoln Center. And she's played on major stages across the United States, and Europe, and South America. And you just came back from somewhere.
I just came back from Italy, Hungary.
And how are you doing this? Because I know you just came back. And you have to play, right, this weekend? Or
yes, I'm performing on the Sundays at 2 series.
That's a great series.
Concert.
Tell us about that.
It's a free concert at 2 o'clock on Sunday at the Rolling Hills Methodist Church. Dear friend Jim Enninger.
He's fabulous.
Yes.
Jim has been so helpful to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We've had a lot of his musicians on for interviews.
Mm-hmm. We've known of each other for many years, and he invited me to play with my pianist partner, recital partner, Louise Thomas.
And does she go everywhere with you? Was she in Italy?
I was touring with an orchestra in Italy.
Oh, you were?
Yes, and organ in the magnificent cathedrals of Como, Florence, Lucca.
And when do you get your repertoire for that? Do they send it to you ahead of time?
Well, I was playing the Vivaldi Four Seasons, which I've known almost from birth.
Oh, it's so beautiful, isn't it?
Yes.
They just performed
Yes.
it. The Philharmonic just performed it. I think Dudamel just conducted. But it's like so vibrant and so exciting and so alive.
It was an amazing tour, and then I gave 2 recitals in Hungary, which was also my Hungarian debut, in Budapest and Szeged, the second largest city, with a colleague of mine who teaches at the Luzerne Music Center in the summer. She's been teaching on the faculty for many years.
From here? From the
here.
States? And she went with you?
And she is Hungarian.
Oh.
So she has dual citizenship.
Oh, was she excited?
Oh, very. She worked to set it up for 2 years in advance.
Oh, wow. So when did you're holding your violin right now, but when did you first pick it up? How old were you?
I was 3. My mother tells me that I saw her. She's a Juilliard-trained cellist.
I know you come from a musical family. Your father, too?
Yeah. My father is quite musical. From his Dutch background, I inherited his perfect pitch.
Is that right? And what is perfect pitch?
It means when you sing or play a note, I can identify the name of the note, just like
you
a color.
You just hear it?
I hear something and I will tell you the name of the note.
Oh, that's so great. Does it help you when you're playing?
I believe it does. I believe it does, although the most important thing is that you have a good sense of relative pitch, one note to the other. But you will find that many performing artists do tend to have perfect pitch.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that you play perfectly, right? That doesn't mean that
comes
it's like
from
if
practicing.
You hear I see. I never understood that. I thought like perfect pitch was like, when you sing on the, right notes.
Well, you don't really know if you have it unless it's developed.
I see.
And it does help you, but everything can be developed so that
you can develop
hear.
that?
I would say that you have to be born with it. It's an innate gift, but then through training, you hone your gift.
That's great. Your mother was a cellist, right? And did she put that in your hand, or did she
She
Because it was
says
the
that I
smallest
chose
thing?
it. She chose that I chose it. She was going to have me play the cello.
That's what I wondered.
But I was riveted to the violin. I think I love the high notes.
Did she play on stage too?
She did, but you see, my mother didn't have the early start that I did. It was when public music came to her public school in Texas when she was growing up.
So you didn't
at age 12.
You didn't feel that music was forced on you by a mother who was like so involved in her music?
No, not at all, because I dreamed of being a soloist.
So it was already in you.
It's
The
in my
music was
DNA.
right.
And you know, she was teaching and when I was in the womb
So
and
do you
performing.
think that makes it? I wonder if that
Yes.
does.
Oh, yes.
You do, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, Zubin Mehta once said that, you know, his mother, I used to be concertmaster for Meli Mehta of the American Youth Symphony, and Tami Mehta said that when Zubin, she would sing
When
to
and
them.
he was pregnant?
Oh, yeah, and play Tchaikovsky symphonies. So they
It
came.
really worked for him, didn't it?
Sure did.
But his father, he had a father conductor too,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Wonderful violinist.
And how long were you that? Tell us what a concertmaster is.
Oh, it's the lead violinist in a symphony. You interpret the conductor's beats, and it's a very exciting and exhilarating position.
And that was a youth orchestra, right? So what was the age span?
Yeah, basically college.
Oh, it
College age.
was.
It was when it's one of the finest youth orchestras in the country. Youth is a bit of a misnomer. It's more pre-professional.
I
Those
see.
kids are in conservatories and they're about to go on to a major professional career.
Because they're really good, right? They're
Yes, I was in
very-
my early 20s when I did.
Oh, is that what it was?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're really good. So you play on this renowned, or what do we want to call it, legendary?
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
Legendary violin.
yeah.
How does one get a legendary violin?
Well, it doesn't happen by accident. This was a gift to me from my grandfather.
You're kidding.
You know, but I had proved myself, you know, all those years of
So you mean
practicing.
he didn't own it. He bought it for you?
It came from an auction. Just the way the movie ends up with the violin disappearing.
Well,
right.
let's talk about the red violin. Is it actually
Right.
about this violin?
Well, it's based on history we know nothing about. The violin was made almost 300 years ago in Italy, and there's no record of it for 200 years.
So we make up a wonderful story
A wonderful story, which Francois Girard told me he did lots of research
to
It's
make up
very
this wonderful
plausible.
story. But it's probably very true when you fit the pieces together, right?
Oh yes, it's entirely plausible.
So why was it so special?
This particular instrument, so I've been tracing the history, and I found out another piece of the past, which is in the 1800s. It was called the Red Strad and owned by Joseph Joachim, who was a great friend of Johannes Brahms. So Joachim lent this instrument to a Czech violinist for his tours in 1878,
Because
and it was
that-
written about.
That's what I thought. Don't they loan instruments a lot, or certain places
Yeah.
own the instrument and they loan it to a virtuoso like you? That's why I was
That's
wondering if you
typically-
owned it. That's typical, but you actually own your own violin.
I do, and but I really feel that I'm the lifetime caretaker of it. You know,
Exactly.
it's my responsibility to take care of it for the next generation.
And does it change sound?
It certainly does. I've noticed that we kind of have grown together over the last 22 years. Or
Is that right?
Yes, it's been a long partnership, and playing a Strat is complicated. You get amazing results, but it's like riding a very spirited racehorse or a Formula One car.
And that new piece that you found about it, what is it like?
The new piece of history relating to Joachim was special. There's an article that the New York Times wrote about this Czech violinist. And then it belonged to the Mendelssohn family. So, I mean, what a history and a legacy that the Mendelssohns had 4 Stradivarius in their
Did they all
living
have
room.
different names, the Stradivarius?
Oh, they are named in history. So this one's called the Red Mendelssohn.
Oh,
After the
Mendelssohn.
Mendelssohns sold it in the late 50s, and then it moved to New York City, where it was in a private collection then for 45 years until it came
Wow.
into my hands. So,
Is that right? Oh,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
fabulous. And then what are the other names?
well, the one violin didn't survive the war. It was a bombing in a bank vault in Germany, in Berlin. I know, it's a tragedy, casualty. And the viola is called the Paganini Mendelssohn, which was in this Tokyo String Quartet. And the cello is named after the famous composer and cellist Piatti, and that's owned by Carlos Prieto, famous Mexican cellist. And I've discovered all that in the last 20 years through meeting people.
So when you say it kind of like belongs to you, if you play Brahms, do you play Brahms on it?
As a matter of fact, I'm going to play the Brahms next May 2016 in Dallas, Texas.
Does it realize that it's Brahms and that it belonged there at one time?
Well, now that I know that's an interesting point you make, because this will be the first time playing Brahms since I've learned this information.
Oh, wow, really?
Oh, yeah. But the violin is perfect for Brahms because it's got a really gutsy sound, and the Brahms is a big, rich, romantic concerto.
And then Mendelssohn?
And Mendelssohn is incredibly refined, so it's sometimes I feel like it knows these pieces.
That's what I'm wondering, because you do have this personal relationship with your instrument, and so I was wondering about that. One thing that I do want our audience to know is that you're so involved in the music world, the Lucerne Music Center, you teach there, you've given back. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that was also seemed to be a bit of destiny. It's in the Adirondack Mountains of New York. Luzerne sort of sounds like Lake Luzerne in Switzerland, but it's a tiny little beautiful lake near Saratoga Springs in the Lake George area, very scenic. I attended as a child because of my teacher in the Philadelphia area who was teaching there. It was originally started by a member of the Philadelphia Orchestra. On his death, he made it known that I was to be his successor.
Did you know it?
The last time I ever saw him, he brought it up. And at that time, I was in my mid-30s, and it was quite an offer of responsibility.
Really?
And initially, I was utterly floored, had never considered such a thing. But then I felt like I was fighting my own destiny. So I joined the board, I became the artistic director, and then in 2012 I became the president, CEO, and artistic director.
Wow.
And we have 150 children this summer.
That's so beautiful, isn't it?
And they're incredibly talented.
And also with your connections in the world of playing all over, you can bring people in, right?
You're absolutely right.
Do you? Do you call on them to come in and help?
One of the most famous living composers, who happens to be an American woman, Joan Tower, is coming for residency this summer.
So will she teach composing?
Yes, she's going to do a 4-day residency, work with the students, work with the faculty, and then I have a master class with David Finkel and Wu Han.
Yeah, great.
And John Corigliano, the composer of the Red
fabulous.
Violin, has been there.
He's great. He's been on our stage at Disney a lot. They've played his music. Oh, so it's really good. I'm so excited. But before we leave, I'm going to just show these two. This is Elizabeth Pitcairn and her violin, and this one. And looking at these, how do you choose what to wear on stage?
Oh, I get like gut feelings about what to wear, and it's the oddest thing.
Like from Hungary to Dallas to LA to Palos Verdes.
Right. Each venue is different and has, it's a combination of the repertoire.
Oh, I wondered about that.
At the time of the year. If it's winter, spring,
summer.
summer.
Is it in your closet, or do you go out and buy something especially?
I have this enormous closet, and I'm starting a little donation where my dresses that I've worn will come with a photo of me wearing them, and the proceeds will go directly to charity.
That's fabulous. It can go to your Lucerne Music Center.
That's right. That's right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being with us. Don't go away. We're going to have another fabulous musician on, singer Richard Shelton. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're here at the Hollywood Museum on Highland, and I'm with award-winning actor Richard Shelton. He's worked on TV, and I'm going to give you just one or two of what he's done. House of Lies. He's worked on the big screen, My Week with Marilyn, and on the stage, Rat Pack Confidential, and Scrooge the musical, and Mamma Mia.
Yes.
A lot of stage work.
Yes.
As an entertainer, he's performed for royalty, and he's been in so many venues. I can't, these small little intimate venues, right? Like a jazz club, and you have this close relationship with an audience when you're in a small room.
Yes, yes.
And then you're on the stage with these huge orchestras and symphony orchestras. How does that feel? What's the difference?
Do you know what? I think the key is you have to make everybody feel special. It doesn't matter if you're in a huge venue and you've got people way up high.
I know.
You
3,000 people?
Right.
How do you do that?
You sing to them. You make them feel as if they are the only person in the room. And you have to be careful how you hold a look, you gesture, you make sure you encompass everybody in the room. If it's a huge theatre or if it's a small venue.
When you're in a huge theater and you're gesturing, because sometimes you're sitting in the balcony and it looks like you're looking right at them.
Yes.
Can you see anything?
Not really. Not really, but I think
I wondered if you could see, because the lights are so bright.
Yeah, because the lights are bright, but you know they're there. And do you know what I think, Joan? For me, the people who are sitting at the top are absolutely as important as the people sitting right down.
Well, they're the ones who want to be there, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, so they're like climbing to the top of the stage.
It's important. Yeah.
And then when you're in this little intimate setting, like last night in Hollywood, what club were you in?
We were at the Sofitel in Beverly Hills, which is a beautiful hotel.
But that's not so small, is it?
It was, I guess that we had about 150 people.
Oh,
something
it's nice.
like that.
Yeah, it's nice size.
Nice size. And it was interesting because they were a little rowdy to begin with at the bar. They'd had a few drinks, and but that's fun. You know, it adds to the atmosphere. So.
And then in London, you work at a very well-known jazz club.
Yeah, there's a jazz club in London called Ronnie Scott's, and it's kind of on a parallel with the Blue Note in New York. Oh. So you've seen Ella Fitzgerald has played there, and Tony Bennett. Michael Bublé recently played there. Really good names.
And when you sing, do you have a certain repertoire for that, for a small?
Yes, I've got, well, I can sing with anything from a pianist or a guitarist right the way up to a...
Oh, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
So what do you work with at the jazz club in London?
In London, we had a quartet, so we had piano, bass, and drums, and a guy on the saxophone.
Oh, wow. So that's big. And then in Los Angeles?
Last night we had, it was great, we had the composer of the album I've recently done.
What is that?
It's
An Englishman in Love with L.A. We have it here.
That's him, An Englishman in Love
and
with
who
LA.
is that composer?
So Alex Rudd, I met at Ronnie Scott's before coming to live in America.
Oh.
And we happened to bump into each other. And we reconnected, funnily enough, at a Tony Bennett concert at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh,
and we got talking.
right up the street.
Yeah. And he said, I love your energy. I love what you're doing. I want to write a song for your album. And I said, well, if you can write a song that sounds like Come Fly With Me meets Fly Me to the Moon.
Alex Rudd, right?
Alex Rudd.
And did he write a song?
Done it. It's a great song.
And he was there last night?
He was
there
there
that
last
part
night.
of Brit Week? Because we've been celebrating Brit Week.
Yeah.
I think we're in our, 6th year or something like that?
I think it is about, 6 years.
Yeah, it's great.
So he played the piano last night, and quite by chance we had a guy, another British guy, Ed Barker, in town, who is George Michael's saxophone player.
Oh, did he play?
Yeah, and he played in, he joined in.
But it's so impromptu that he can follow like Alex's new music or your old music?
Well, we said to him, look, there's a couple of songs that you might want to sit in on, and one of them was The Girl from Ipanema.
Oh, so he knew that.
And he knew that, so it worked beautifully.
Oh, that's great. But where were you born and raised?
So I was born in, absolutely, if you can imagine England, I mean, it's a tiny country anyway, but I was born right in the centre, right in the middle.
Which is what?
It's called Wolverhampton, and it's near a city called Birmingham. I
Oh,
don't know if
right.
you've heard
Yeah,
of
Birmingham, yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
But then did you come to London to study? Did you go to voice school, music school, acting school?
No, I was forbidden.
By your family?
By my family. I was brought up in this environment where my father was of a generation and of an opinion.
Well, we can't say you came from an acting family then.
No, we certainly can't. No son of mine will go into the theatre.
Oh.
And so I was sort of coerced and forced to get a job, and I worked in the hotel business for years.
Oh, you did? But that's
Yeah.
perfect.
Loved it.
I do. I think it's great, especially if you're an outgoing person like that, like you, or you
yeah.
want to act.
Yeah.
You know, you
So
don't
I-
have to wait tables.
No.
You work in the hotel.
So I did that for a few years, but always harbored a desire to become an actor and a singer. So I maneuvered my life, and some years later I gave it all up and became an actor.
Did you start studying then, or you just it came naturally?
I just did it. It just came naturally. Yeah.
That's so great. So it was just waiting for you, right?
Right.
Where do you spend most of your time now? In London or here or
Yeah.
here?
So I decided to. I mean, I'd achieved a lot in England, and you know, I was a regular in a TV show, and I'd recorded a lot. I'd performed, like you said earlier, to Prince Charles at Windsor Castle.
I
and
know, that's so
wonderful.
great.
But I just felt, you know, America was calling. So I did what the pioneers did, and I decided to pack my bag and get on a plane and experience it.
You had no job when you came?
I knew one person in town. I
Is
had
that right?
a friend called Rachel. I knew no one. And
Wow.
it's been a great 2 years.
So you got this great award for playing Sinatra.
Yes, I
We're
did.
How far are we going now from when you first came here?
So
Several years?
Yeah, the award that was in London. So I played him on the London stage.
Right.
And that would be about 8 years, 9
Oh,
years
so it's
ago.
not so long from that point to this point.
Right.
So how did you research Sinatra? I mean, that's pretty heavy duty to want to play Sinatra or to be cast as Sinatra.
I think if you're going to approach a character like Sinatra, you know, you have to commit. It's 100% commitment. You're in all the way.
Day and night?
Absolutely. There's no half measures. So when I was in a drama that looked at the dark aspects of his life.
Oh, it was a
and-
drama. Did you
yeah,
sing at all?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
you did as well.
So, I mean, for example, here's an example. It looked at everything from the happy days of the Capitol sessions, Come Fly With Me and Fly Me to the Moon. But it looked at the dark times in his life as well, where he had some suicide attempts. And, for example, one of the most beautiful moments for me was when he recorded In the Wee Small Hours of the Morning.
Oh, that was very moving, wasn't
Very
it?
moving. And apparently he had a photograph of Ava Gardner in the studio.
Oh, right.
And it was after their marriage had failed. And he sang this song to her, to this.
But you can
picture.
feel it, can't you?
You can feel it. Absolutely.
And even if you don't know anything about it. So did you perform that on stage?
Yes.
And
yeah.
did you have the photograph?
No, because the way it was set up was her image was, if you like, it was in my mind.
Yeah. And so how did you find out all of these things? How deep was your research?
It was. We had a 5-week rehearsal period, which for a drama is quite a long time. You normally only get 2 to 3 weeks. And a solid week of it was like 12 hours a day, research, reading, video watching.
Oh, it was?
To understand mannerisms and little tics. And
Was that the director doing that with you?
Yes, yeah. Because in the drama, it was an expose of the 5 guys in the Rat Pack. So Dean, Martin.
Oh, so you had somebody playing each one of those?
That's right. Sammy
see.
Davis, Peter Lawford, etc. And so we had to absolutely watch in minute detail the physicality and listen to the cadence of how they spoke.
Were you in contact with each other on the stage?
Yes, we were.
Yeah, so you had to do that.
Yeah.
You mentioned Windsor Castle.
Yes.
Is there a certain kind of protocol that you have to follow? I mean, you're not an OBE, right? And if you were, does that make a difference when you're performing?
No, I think it doesn't. I think I was there with some very fine people, very important people, far more important than me. And
Who? Tell us.
Oh, there was, what's her name?
What?
Fiona Shaw. She's a
Oh,
great
yes.
British, I think she's a dame now, I think.
Yes.
She's a fine British actress and poet, the Welsh National Opera, and then me. And I was told, as a matter of fact, to sing the Klaus Ogerman arrangement of Sinatra's version of The Girl from Ipanema. With a beautiful orchestra.
Really?
Yeah.
And were there a lot of people in the audience?
Yeah, there
Or
were.
was it just family?
No, there were about 300.
Oh, that's
And-
not very many for
No.
the family people.
In
Were they friends of the family?
Kind of. I mean, there were all sorts of people there. And there was Prince Charles sitting there, and Camilla, his wife. And
So it was recent, very recently.
Yes, it was.
And do they tell you what to do, what to wear?
Sort of. I mean, I had to wear a DJ. I mean, I knew that. And there is sort of a protocol, but it's very. I mean, even for me as a British person, it was bizarre. It was kind of strange to be in this environment.
But when you're on the stage
Yeah.
and you finish singing, do you have to back away, or can you turn around and walk out?
I think instinctively I didn't do those things. I think when the song finished, I bowed, and I think I did just back away. I think I did, yes. I think you're right.
Because I was at I was at Buckingham Palace with Zondra Rhodes, who was just invested as a dame.
Wow.
And she had, you step back 2 steps, you curtsy, and then you turn sideways, but you can never turn your back.
Is that right?
So you walk out, and you have all these instructions. And we went, I don't even think there were 300 people. I mean, it was a very small audience. It was very, very exciting, really, to be a part of it. It was very exciting.
Imagine.
But I was thinking yours was even more exciting because you were performing.
Well, do you know that you're absolutely right. And here's the interesting thing, that I can remember standing on the stage, singing, looking at Prince Charles, watching me. And what went through my head was, you spend your life with everybody looking at you. And for one brief moment, the room is dark, and everyone's looking at me, and you're looking at me too. But I'm standing here looking at you, watching me. It was kind of like...
But you're actually performing for him
Right.
besides that.
It was bizarre.
Well, let's come back to LA. That's why all the Englishmen love LA, right? And that's the name of your new CD, An Englishman in Love with Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And what's so great about Los Angeles?
There's an energy. For us, it's like this wonderful, colourful, refreshing energy, and it's exciting, and it's full of possibilities, and it's joyous. You know.
And you're living here.
I'm living here.
I'm so excited. That's great.
Sometimes I kind of pinch myself, and I think, I'm really here. I'm really here. This is real.
Well,
It's great.
welcome.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much, Jo.
Thank you so much. And keep writing to JAQUINN1 at AOL.com.